Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, welcome once again to She Mergens Weekly Motivational Affirmations. Again, She Mergens Weekly Motivational Affirmations. My name is Dr. Linda here in the beautiful city out South Florida. Greetings to each and every one of you around the world, to those who are here locally and those who are internationally. So, this segment comes on every Thursday evening and it is brought to you by WeWa, which is a women inspiring women always, a group that has been founded on Facebook for over 7 years, where women come together at week every 3 months. We have different activities, workshops for the women in the community and also internationally. So this is just an extension of the many things that is happening in the WeWa, which is the Women Inspiring Women Always group. I greet you once again. Hey, how y'all doing? I pray that everyone is well, and sorry about the short delay that we had as due to the weather and there was some signal issues. So I pray that everyone is well on today. And this segment is called Forgiveness. 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 To forgive and let go. We have heard the expression a lot to say forgive and forget. And then you find people that say, I can forgive, but I cannot forget. And we use different things, reasons as to why we won't forgive at all, at all, at all. So, on today, let's just talk a little bit about it. And one of the questions that I had put out initially before today was to find out how everyone felt about forgiveness. And the question was, should we always forgive? Should we always forgive? I would like to hear from you. Should we always forgive? I had one person that responded that says, yes, we should always forgive. There might be those who say, mm-mm, I can't give up. I can't give into this. Let me just hold this a little longer because I have not yet gotten my revenge. We find reasons as to why we don't want to forgive somebody, we don't want to let it go. But what I want you to know today is forgiveness is for you. All right. Forgiveness is not for them. Okay, the forgiveness is releasing your heart, that is opening the door to your future. You're building a better future when you forgive and when you let go. Because what happens is, while we are holding all of these grudges in, we're making ourselves sick. We are uncomfortable. No matter how you look at it, you're uncomfortable, right? You feel a lot of animosity, all right? You feel what they say righteous indignation, right? These are different things that people are looking at as the reason why they shouldn't let go, or I shouldn't let go so easily. I shouldn't give in so easily. And I understand what Jesus meant when he said to love your enemies. When we spend so much time focusing our energy on hate, guess what? We become what we don't like. We become who we shouldn't be. Look at this. Because we're doing tit for tat, vengeance for vengeance, right? So now you have become now the enemy. You have become worse than that person you so-called said you didn't like. All right? Because now you're plotting and you're scheming in your head as to the things that you feel that you could do to get back at this person. And that is one of the reasons why God says vengeance is his, because he's doing it in a just way. We become so blinded by hate that we would do things that later on we regret. I don't care what people are saying, because when you're upset, you will say and you will do anything if you do not reason, or if you are moving just on emotion. Now, have people done things to us that really hurt us? Let me raise both of my hands. Yes, it has. All right. And it takes some time. Rather, you say, you know what? This is going to give me a moment. This is going to take me some time to release this thing. right? Instead of saying, I will never. I will never. You know, there are people who will say, I will never forgive. And in Creole, they say, when pap pardonne moun sa, tout autant delive te. Meaning, I just spoke in Creole, for those who don't realize I am bilingual. So, what the person is expressing is that I will not release you until I'm dead and 6 feet under. Now, mind you, there is no repentance after death. So that's why it is necessary to forgive. There are things that have happened to me that some would say is unforgivable. But as I held on to it, I can use a story, for example. I'm going to use my father. I'm going to go there. Um, I didn't know my father. He left when I was a year and a half, going on 2 years old. I didn't know him, know nothing of him, except for anybody ever seen those old passport pictures, all right, that my mom always kept of him, and that's how come I knew, okay, what my father looked like, okay? And so for years, for those of you who have read my book, She Emergence, I talk about all of these pains and hurts that happened because my father was not around. So every time these things happened to me, I had to send it somewhere, right? So I sent it to the person that was missing in my life. So I blamed everything on him. If he was here, this would not have happened. If he was here, that would not have happened. And so every time it happened, I said, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. All right. And then he came into my life when I was 14, going on 15 years old. Everything was all bottled up in me. I was waiting till I was older, be able to come to the States so I could express my feelings and just let him know. It was like, it was hate, not love. All right. Because every time these things happen, I didn't see him in a loving light. You know, he was the reason all of these things happened to me. So therefore, when he came in to our living room that particular night, all the rage, all the hurt, all the pain. Mind you, I was in a better place because of all the things that happened to me in my childhood. I was already in a better place mentally, pretty much put them behind me, right? In my subconscious, some things I left alone, I didn't want to deal with because I wanted to move on with my life. And that's the worst thing we can do is when we put things to the side and say, I will deal with that later or never deal with it. Because what is happening is it's in the background, but it is grinding a hole, right? It is grinding a hole that is getting bigger and bigger, and that hate and that darkness will soon consume you, but it's in the background, right? It's in the shadows, but it is moving and it's encircling you, and before you know it, you're in total darkness. So when he came into my life that night, I was so overwhelmed by emotion, pain. And so when he would reach in, I recognized him immediately. And when he would come in to embrace me, to him, he thought that my emotion, like every time I went to speak, how dare you come into our life? I'm thinking, and I wanted to say it, but my mouth could not say it. So tears are flowing, my mouth is trembling, all right? And I can't say all these things that are inside of me. They just came out like exploded, right? And he is, oh, yes, yes, yes. He's thinking it's all good. He's thinking the tears are tears of joy. But what was in my heart was, oh my God, terrible. Words I've never expressed. I didn't grow up cursing and saying bad words, but my brain was bleep, 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 bleep. But the words couldn't come out because of all the hurt, right? He left my mom with us. We went through problems, situations. So many things happened. Okay. And so every time he reached in, I would be crying and my mouth is trembling and my body is shaking, like literally shaking. I've never experienced that before. If you've never gone through something like that, it's hard to explain what was going on with me because I was exploding from the inside. Everything was happening on the inside, but on the outside, It was tears and my body was shaking, shaking, shaking. Eventually, they left. After they left, I went and I prayed. And I know it's the Holy Spirit that was holding me from releasing that way. It was like I was going to unleash some things, right? And this was supposed to be a joyous moment that He is here, all right? So it is necessary to release the hurt. So He came the next day, and yet again, I was not as worked up as before because I spent the night crying myself to sleep, praying. So when He came the next day, I could only shake my head. It was like I was dumb. All right. I could not speak. I could not express myself. And I would just nod, shake my head, but couldn't speak. The words couldn't come out. On the third day, when He finally came, by then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to waste my energy on this man. I had made up my mind. He wasn't there. What is done was done. And I'm going to move on with my life. So the question is, why are you here now? That's all I could say. Where were you? Did you not see our letters? Did you not know? Every time someone came to the States, that we submitted our letters. I sent pictures. I wrote to you. And he said, yes, I received them all. So he brought, clothes, watch, different things like that. But when you've gone through so much, if you was lacking something for a while and then finally somebody connects and say, okay, I'm going to give you this, like husbands who wait until something happened to go get their wife flowers, or wait until something happened to do the right thing. At that point, that person has already gone beyond that. So you could fill up the whole building with flowers. Their pain is so deep that that don't mean anything anymore because you have gone beyond the limit. You've overdone it. Okay, so now you have to find a different way to remedy it and totally be forgiving in your heart because it's not the things that you're bringing. Women are that way as well. Okay, so should we always forgive? Yes. That started my journey to forgiving my father without even having a conversation with him. It wasn't until I was about, let's say, 12 years later that an incident happened at home, and by then I've moved into the States. He was living with us, and I was regretting every day. Why did I decide to move here? I knew that I never wanted to come and live with this man. Why am I here? But I had my daughter, and he was the only person that I really knew that was here. And my husband say, "Stay." I'm from the Bahamas. He say, "Stay, wait until I get all my documents, and I'll come and join you." But I was not happy. I went through postpartum depression, because I was already dealing with meeting somebody that I didn't know, that I had a lot of animosity towards. And here it is, I'm in a country where everybody I knew was an hour, 2 hours, or different cities away, days away. And I have to be with this person, right? And he would do things that would cause me to react even more like, wow, like really, you know and he called himself being in church and all of that, and I would start saying, you know what, I don't know how you lived before, but I'm here now. And since I live here, there's certain things, because I'm paying rent, you know I'm doing different things. I'm an adult. And I said there's just certain things that I cannot accept. you know you can do them elsewhere but not around me. And I got to the point that I even got uncomfortable being around him, that I didn't want to be around him. So when this particular incident happened, everything came out. Everything came out. It was like I started out from that little girl, 4 years old, all the way to that point. And I was crying in tears, but I wasn't angry, like, saying cuss words or anything like that. But I was saying, Dad, I need you to listen to this. I'm only calling you Dad because of respect, because you never raised me. You're a total stranger to me. I know people that I could call a father who was in my life, who cared about me. But because of courtesy and Christianity, I will give you that respect because you did plant that seed. All right. And I expressed every pain, every hurt, everything that was happening. And he just stood there dumbfounded. Now remember, I told you I was the one who couldn't speak, and my dad always have to have the last word. He always have to be the one to end the conversation, to the point that if he was saying something, you had to give in, whether you liked it or not. He couldn't speak, and he stood there. And there was a point that a tear came down his eye. And in my heart, I'm like, now you understanding me. Now you're feeling my pain, but let me get this off. I said, once I'm done, I'm done. So let me express. So I told him everything, every hurt. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. If you were there, even if you and my mom weren't together, but your presence around us or nearby would give a certain respect to us, growing up. There would be a certain fear because you are nearby, certain things people probably would not have even dared to try. So I expressed all of this. I don't know how long it took for me to say it, but by the time as I was done, I was hoarse, right? Tears are flowing. And he looks at me and he says to me, I didn't know you hate me that much. And I said, I'm only expressing things that had happened. And right now, as I stand here, I don't hate you. I'm only speaking it to you in love for you to understand because this is my moment. After that, he left. I didn't see him for like 3 days. He went to stay with his girlfriend. By then, my husband had already came in from the States. My sister was already here. And I explained my husband, they were upset about what happened. We were all upset, but that was my opportunity to express other things. Anybody ever been upset and you've been holding on to things for so long that it seems like all of a sudden everything, you just releasing everything, right? That's dangerous. That is very dangerous to do. So you must do it with wisdom. And I thank God he gave me wisdom that day. And 3 days later, he goes to my husband and he said to my husband, that I hate him with a passion and he's afraid to be around me. And I used to think when my dad wasn't around me, it was because of respect, because I'm oldest, I have my head on my shoulders, I know what I want. And then later on, it kind of became like a fear and respect because now he's realizing I'm right. He's realizing I'm right. And we had a meeting. I expressed to him, I said, I did it all in love, but it was so much that I had to unload. And I only take you through that journey because I wanted you to understand where I'm coming from. We took some time to mending for him, all right? We still don't have a father daughter relationship because he never opened up. And there are a lot of people in the Haitian community or old school who were never taught how to express or to openly speak or share. And so my heart is clear, my mind is clear. When I see him, I'm happy, we're smiling, there's a lot going on. That is just one of the stories of forgiveness. All right? So, as we are in this moment and we're talking about affirmation, what I want you to do, the first thing you need to do is to forgive yourself. Mm-hmm. Yep. Forgive yourself. The very first thing you need to do today is to forgive yourself. Can you do that? Can you start this journey to healing by starting to acknowledge your part in this? What you have allowed to fester? What you have allowed to grow? It's time to start healing. Now, a lot of people don't want to go back and express. But for me, it's always necessary to go back to the root because I want to kill it from the root. All right. So go back to the source. And that's why the Bible talks about this all the time about confession. That is releasing the burden off of you. All right. Releasing the burden off of you, releasing that weight off of you. All right. And so once I did that, I start to live a healthier life. Now, did that mean there weren't other things happening in my life that I still had to deal with? Because I was always someone who internalized it. I kept it in. I didn't say anything. I'm always like the mediator. I don't want to be the one to cause things to happen. There's different things that we do. And so that's what I circled my time, my energy around, is focusing on starting. What I realized is my healing had to start within. So there were little steps, but I was getting better day by day. And as I got better day by day, there were things that happened to me that even though I told to adults that did nothing about it, but then I start to acknowledge, you know what, God, I need to let this go because this is consuming me. This is destroying me. This is even interrupting my praise and my relationship with God. Uh-huh. This is interrupting the intimacy that I can have with God because I'm having grudges with man on earth. I'm having issues with men on earth, if you understand me. So as I release that, my worship with God changed to a new dimension. I was praising God and tears was flowing in my eyes. And every time it happened, I was healing in the middle of service. And people didn't understand. My husband didn't understand. Sometimes he thought it was because of issues that we had at home. Of course, some of those things were there. There are moments of healing. And I found that every time I cried, I expressed myself to God in prayer and I became free. So forgiveness is necessary to build your future because you cannot go into the future with unforgiveness and be successful and be truly happy. You must forgive. So let's start forgiving today. So the phrase here is to say, to err is human, to forgive is divine. God created you in this element, the element to be forgiving and not to hold grudges. That is the element. To forgive and not to hold grudges, to not carry burdens. When you carry unforgiveness, it adds stressors to your life and it also causes you to have sickness in your body. Mhm. It's that deep because it's spiritual. It is a spiritual. So that's why it says to err is human and to forgive is divine. Forgiveness isn't something you do for someone else. It's something you do for yourself. It's saying you're not important enough to have a stronghold on me. It's saying you don't get to trap me in the past and I am worthy of the future. This is by Jody Becolt. So when you release that person, you're telling them, I'm not going to let you trap me. I'm not going to let you keep me in this place. So today, say this to yourself. I'm no longer letting this person hold me back, keep me bound, keep me tied, keep me all wrapped up. I want to be free. Say that. I want to be free. So I'm going to start walking in my forgiveness today. Mhm. Because you're releasing it for you. And this is how you're going to build up my future compared to 20 years ago. Oh my gosh, night and day. Compared to 10 years ago, because sometimes we have grudges and the grudges we have causes us to do things. For example, some women or men decide that they want to go and express or get back at someone, so they pull a woman or a man into their life just to hurt the next person. But in essence, you are not hurting them, you are hurting yourself. Throughout life, people will make you mad, disrespect you, treat you bad. Let God deal with the things that they do. Yeah, let God deal with it. Because He said vengeance is His. So let God deal with that. Because the hate in your heart will consume you. This was destroying me. It was impacting my relationship. It was impacting my studies at school. It was impacting the people that I brought into me. I didn't trust anybody because of things that happened in my past. So today, what would you like to do? Heal? Let us start this journey to healing today. 4. To forgive is divine. Divine. To forgive is divine. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself and said, hey, I've been carrying this person in my life too long. I'm going to release them because they're not that important. They're not worth it. They're not worth my unhappiness. And you know what the enemy does? He uses that, adds fuels to it, and you get creative in hurting people because they hurt you. And of course, you are destroying yourself. So to err is human, to forgive is divine. So I hope this bless you on today. There is so much that I wanted to say in context, and the Lord chose the story of my father. So if you have a father or somebody in your life that you've been holding on because of things that because they weren't there, they were absentee parent, all right, then it is time to let it go. I watched a movie just last night on Lifetime that talks about Envy. This young lady grew up hard life, only to find out that she had a father, that she could have had a comfortable life. But once she came into their life, instead of embrace the joy, she got vengeful. She got angry. She did things to try to hurt them, but what she was doing was hurting herself. Because in the end, she had some things that she did, she ended up having to go to jail for. Don't let it consume you today. That's what I bring to you today. Let go and let God. And my saying that I love to say a lot says, let go and glow. When you release all that unforgiveness and that pain, you become bright, you become light, you can breathe. It's like you're shining, you're glowing because you don't carry that darkness, that consuming, that hate anymore. So let go and glow. Blessings to you. Once again, this is Dr. Linda Joseph with She Merchants Weekly Motivational Affirmations. Share the live, share the live, share the live. Go back and watch it. Share it in your groups, share it with your friends. And if there's anything more that you'd like to hear for us to talk about on this podcast, go ahead and reach out to me. You can do so under shemergence info at gmail.com. Shemergence info at gmail.com. Thank you. Bye bye.